am doing the Block of the Month collaboration for 2025 with Sylvia at You and Me FPP and Colleen at Colleen Sews and Chats. I'll put cards for both of them in over the course of this little short intro that we're doing, and hopefully you'll go check them out after you watch my video. So here is this month's Block of the Month. Trying to get it so you can see it pretty closely. And obviously food, right? It's Mexico. Mexican food is probably more popular in the United States than it is in Mexico at this point. So I decided that a taco was appropriate for Mexico this month. And this is not fabric, it's felt. I didn't use my scrap box much this month. I did get a couple of little pieces for the tomatoes and the lettuce. And you could add cheese pieces on there if you wanted to. You could add sour cream dollops, whatever your little heart desires. I even thought about spilling some salsa down here at the bottom, but I figured it would look like I spilled salsa on my block, so I didn't use it. All right, so let's get into making this block so you guys can all see it, and I will see you in just a few minutes. Here is our supplies. And I wanted to show you, I'm still working out of that Block of the Month kit that I made at the beginning of the year. This has turned out to be wonderful. It holds all my little blocks, and I haven't been putting sashing on them as I go. I'll do that off camera. I think you all know how to put sashing on stuff, so we'll just keep moving on here. Let me get out one block for fabric. And then we can set this aside until we get this block completed. Now, last month I told you guys that we weren't going to be necessarily working out of the scrap box that I've been working with. And I'll just show you, it's still really full. And the only thing I think I really want out of here is maybe some green and a little pink, maybe some pink scraps. I might use those for tomatoes. I haven't got that far yet. I'm just literally working on it today. But I thought you guys might like to see that. Especially if you've been following along, you know that I've got all kinds of crazy ideas running around in my head. And sometimes they all just flow out at one time. So this is something I ordered off of Amazon. I'll put a link to it in the description, but it's just felt. And I'm going to take my little scissors here, and I love the fact that they vacuum packed it. That is just awesome. And I'm not going to worry about keeping this plastic packaging intact, because once I open this up and pull this felt out, if I open it up and pull this felt out, since it's tougher than my hands are today, there we are, go right across the top. There is all of my pieces of felt, and I didn't order anything special. This is where it came from. Hopefully that turns it around so you can read it. Bouboni. I don't know if that's Bubani or Bobani, but I'll put the link in the description box for you. And this, no good. I don't need it. So we'll get rid of the package. Now, this month's block is Mexico. I think I already told you that. So I need to pick out some colors for the taco shell. I think that tan would be great for that. And let's see if any of these colors work better for the inside of the taco than the other. I'm trying to remember to keep, I like the brown, because I have an idea for that. Trying to keep in mind the colors that we have put in our other blocks, so that when I get done with this, we'll have a somewhat cohesive quilt, because I definitely don't want it to look like I literally pulled stuff from here and there and just threw it all together. Although that would be fine too. Okay, so my big plan for this, yeah, let me take my block and give it a quick finger press. Not going to use the iron on this, or at least not much. I just want to be able to see where the center is, because I want to put my taco kind of across here, and then I am going to put the word Mexico up on the top. So I have the perfect tool for doing this. I have a little protractor. Let's see if it'll show up against the fabric. Just one like you had in school. And that'll be a good size, I think, for the taco. Scratch that part. All right, so I'm just going to lay my protractor down on here. I was going to try to draw it out, but let's just use the rotary cutter to go right around that. Always close your rotary cutter before you put it down. Safety. I know quite a few creators who have cut themselves on camera, including moi. So don't be like us. And see, I've still got that huge piece of felt left. And then we're going to go over here. And I don't think I need as big a piece of the brown as I did of the tan. So I'm just going to take a little nip off the edge here. Once again, using that protractor as my ruler and cutting it out. There's the brown. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting my taco on here. Lay down my brown. Add the taco itself. And then what is a taco unless it's got some tomatoes on it and some lettuce? I'm not going to put sour cream on this one, but that would be my preference. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a piece of I don't want the little edge to show. I'm thinking. Give me a second. You guys all know I'm just like one of those people. I have to think too hard to be able to do stuff. I don't care if the edges are a little ruffly. I think that actually adds charm for my taco. So there's the green. And then we've got, there's a little piece of pink. And there's a little piece of pink for my tomatoes. So let's bring this back over here. Now, you can make your taco any way you like. My way is just how my little mind is coming for it today. And I'm going to put the green under the meat. And the green is, of course, for my lettuce. I might even let that sit up there by itself. Or do a little blanket stitch or something on it. I kind of like the ruffly look of it. And then we just need a couple of pieces of tomato. It doesn't have to have lots. This isn't really to eat, right? So let's, and I'm just cutting that little triangle into triangles. So I have 3 or 4 pieces. So we've got our lettuce on there. A little red there. A little red. A little red. And then we're going to lay our taco piece down. Fold it over like a prairie point maybe. See how that works. Now I am going to do one with an official kind of pattern in a couple of days, but this one is just kind of play it by ear. Let's play and create something that we want to use. And I think I need a little dot of glue. To hold these down. And that little dot of glue on the back layer is more than enough to hold down both layers of the fabric. Because I do still want it to be a little bit movable, but not so much that it'll fall off. And this is going to be a utility quilt no matter what. Or a donation quilt. And I think if it ends up with a kid anywhere along the way, that they'll love the little fluffy edges of the tacos. All right, so now let's lay our taco shell on top. And I'm not worried about if it's slightly crooked, slightly off, any of that. But there's our taco, and that is all basically freehand. Wipe the top of my glue off before I put it away. And I need one of those few times where pens are a good idea. And what I'm going to do, I'll hold this up for you in just a second so you can see where I'm putting these pens. But I'm basically putting them through the bottom of where the meat layer is, and then at the bottom of the taco. This doesn't need lots of, see, you can see where that demarcation is, but I don't think that's going to be a problem for us. Now, I'm going to go over here to the sewing machine, move my rotary cutter, my pen bin, all that stuff, and I can put the white pencil away. So we're going to go over here to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew this up, and I'll show you. Normally when you sew stuff like this, I'm going to tuck that tomato under a little bit more. Normally when you sew stuff like this for applique, you start at the farthest bottom layer and work your way up. But for this, I'm going to do the taco first because I want to anchor all the other little bits and pieces. And then I'll go back and probably sew along the edge of the ruffle. Now what I've got in my sewing machine for thread today is a brown, it's still that brown variegated I've been using, and I really like that. And before we move forward, I'm going to go ahead and bring you guys over closer to my sewing machine, or maybe bring the sewing machine closer to you. so that you can see a closer view of what I'm sewing. So give me just a minute and we'll be right back. So here we are a little closer to the sewing machine, and I've got to thread it before I can do anything. And some days this machine threads like a boss, and some days it wants to give me fits. So let's see what we're working with today. I think I just stuck my tongue out while I was trying to thread it. Ta-da! Thank you for making me look good today, machine. All right, I'm going to start. I have my machine on a zigzag stitch. I'm working on a Baby Lock Jazz 2. I have a 1 for the length of the stitch, which is going this way, and a 3 for the width of the stitch, which is going this way. And we're just going to start sewing. I have to take my shoes off, folks. I'm one of those can't sew with the shoes on. All right, and we're going to start, like I said, usually when you do something like this, you're going to start at the farthest back layer, but I'm going to start in a different spot simply because I want this to look a little bit different than normal. And let's just do it. You always want to make it so that your needle stops on the downstroke if you can. And you may remember, whoops, I missed my edge over there. I'll have to go back around and get it. And you may remember that I'm always telling you turn this way. Well, that was just one continuous arc. So I went ahead and did the whole arc as one continuous thing. And I'm going to take a couple of stitches across that corner and then start going down this way because I want to be able to take that pen out of my way. And another thing that you may want to note is that I'm running it so that the edge of my applique piece is right along that inside line of my presser foot. And that just gives me a visual guide to follow so that I know that my blanket stitch will catch my taco edge. So let's keep sewing. I'm going to take this out of here for just a second so that I can show you why that edge didn't catch there. Let's see. Get it up here where you can see it. Apparently, when I cut my taco, I cut 2 cuts along that edge. I'm hoping the camera is picking that up. So what I need to do is I need to finish the bottom, and then I need to come back just a little bit further in to catch the edge of that taco. We'll do that now. It's not a bad thing. It's just a, uh-oh, it happened thing. And then I can see, even if you can't, where that edge is that it didn't catch. So we're just going to go ahead and sew right over that cut edge. And for those of you who don't know me already, I'm just calling that a design choice. It's not a mistake. All right, up. Let's cut those threads. Sometimes I leave all of my threads until I get to the end, but I thought I would do something a little different this time. Okay, and then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a straight stitch for my lettuce and my tomatoes, and I'm going to sew down the lettuce, and then I'll look and decide if I want to sew down those top edges of the tomatoes. And I've got that fabric is folded over so that I have quote unquote multiple layers of lettuce. I still got my stitch length pretty short. I thought that that would be a good thing. And I'm not worried about the lettuce being ruffly or, you know, as in ruffled. I just want to kind of sew it down. I think it's going to catch that. Sorry. Nope, I missed it. I'm not worried about the lettuce being actually ruffly. I happen to like how it looks when applique gets frayed edges. So I'm going to leave that as a design choice. I'm going to go back along the edge a little bit, and I'm just back stitching. We'll cut off these threads. I cut them off, but I didn't remove them. I'm a bad kid. All right, and then let's pull this out. Cut my top and my bottom bobbin thread. And there is our taco. Now the next step that I need to do is I need to put Mexico on here. I could put it up here. I could put it down at the bottom. But I think maybe I'll try to put it across the taco. I'll decide when I get to the machine. But so far, this block is done. And I think it's looking really cute. While I'm stitching the Mexico, I'll decide on these tomatoes that are kind of sticking up. The tomatoes always fall off your taco anyway, right? All right, let's go over to the embroidery machine and see what our next step is. So what I decided to do was I wrote Mexico on here with a fabric marker. And my preschool vacation Bible school used to teach little kids at Friday school at church. Brain had to do it with a little bit of flourish. It's off center, but it's my block. I don't mind. So we're going to go with it. All right, guys. So that's our block of the month for Mexico. I made a few creative choices in there about how I cut the meat filling for the taco, or you could call it beans if you wanted to, and about the scraps that I used for the tomatoes and the lettuce. Grandkids and for littles who come to visit, that kind of thing. This is my take on the Mexico block of the month. I hope that you'll go look at Colleen Shares and Chats and see what she did for the Mexico block of the month. And also, please check out my friend Sylvia at You and Me FPP. Sylvia teaches FPP. She's an expert at it. And I don't know what she's going to come up with for this month's block, but I really, really want to see what she does with Mexico. And that is written on there with a fabric marker pen. And it is, hopefully that will pick it up, a Micron 05 black fabric marker. This is permanent. It's washable, so it will stay in. And I think if I had written it down here in the white, it might have bled. But since I put it in the felt, I'm hoping that it will stay. And this video, no speeding it up, no slowing it down, no cutting things out. I just want you to see exactly how I come up with stuff like this. It's a creative process, and I appreciate you watching. Have a great day. See you next month. So I went to talk on myself, and that pen does not write very well. It doesn't even give me a good mark. Let's try my grease pencil. And I'm absolutely positive the camera's not going to pick that up. But I did just take, and it gave me at least an outline of the topic that I can cut on, I think.